Artificial intelligence is one of the most misunderstood concepts of our time. People love throwing around terms like AI, machine learning, and deep learning as if they're all the same thing. They're not. And if you don't get the difference, you're stuck thinking of AI as some magical force that just figures stuff out. It doesn't. AI is complicated, yes, but it's not magic. It's math, algorithms, and an enormous amount of data. If you really want to understand what's going on behind the curtain, let's start peeling back the layers. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of what the differences are between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, and how they all work together. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence, in the simplest terms, is about getting machines to do things that normally require human intelligence. When people say AI, they're usually talking about things like problem solving, decision making, or recognizing patterns. But let's slow this down because the term artificial intelligence covers a lot of ground. At its most basic level, AI systems are created to analyze data, identify patterns, and make decisions based on that information. How they do that, and to what extent, is where machine learning and deep learning come in. AI itself has been around as an idea since the 1950s, but back then it was more theory than reality. Computers weren't powerful enough, and there wasn't enough data to train them. Fast forward to today, and we're swimming in data. Every time you scroll through your phone, use Google, or tap like on a post, you're generating data. This explosion of information, combined with advances in computing, has finally made AI practical. It's no longer just a research project. It's embedded in almost everything you use. But here's the thing. Most of that AI isn't as intelligent as people think. The AI you interact with every day is what's called narrow AI. It's designed to do one thing really well. When Netflix recommends a movie, that's AI. When your email filters out spam, that's AI. But neither of these systems can think in the way you or I do. They can't generalize or apply their knowledge to unrelated tasks. They're good at solving specific problems because they've been trained on massive data sets, but ask them to do something outside their narrow scope, and they fail spectacularly. So how do these systems work? That's where machine learning comes in. What is machine learning? Think of machine learning as the backbone of modern AI. It's a way of teaching machines to learn from data instead of just following hard-coded instructions. This is a big shift from how computers used to work. In traditional programming, you'd write explicit rules for the computer to follow. If this happens, do that. Machine learning does things differently. Instead of telling the machine what to do, you give it a huge amount of data and let it figure out the rules on its own. For example, let's say you're building a system to identify spam emails. In the old days, you'd have to write a set of rules. Look for words like free or win or a bunch of exclamation marks. But that approach is clunky and easy to fool. With machine learning, you don't write the rules. Instead, you feed the system thousands or millions of emails, each labeled as either spam or not spam. The system analyzes this data, looks for patterns, and creates its own rules for deciding what counts as spam. It's teaching by example rather than instruction. And here's what's interesting. The machine doesn't actually understand what it's doing. It's not sitting there thinking, yes, another scam email. It's just crunching numbers and looking for statistical relationships. It might notice, for instance, that emails with certain phrases or links tend to be spam, and it'll use those patterns to make predictions. If it gets something wrong, say marking a legitimate email as spam, it adjusts its internal model to improve for next time. This process of learning from mistakes is what makes machine learning so powerful. What is deep learning? Now, there are a few different types of machine learning, but the most talked about one these days is deep learning. Deep learning is a type of machine learning that's modeled after the human brain. Well, sort of. It uses something called artificial neural networks, which are loosely inspired by how neurons in our brains work. These networks consist of layers of interconnected nodes, or neurons, and each layer processes a different part of the data. Let's break that down a bit further. Let's say you're trying to teach a deep learning system to recognize faces. The first layer of the network might focus on simple patterns, like edges or lines. The next layer might combine those edges into shapes, like a nose or an eye. The layer after that might start piecing together these shapes to form an entire face. By the time the data gets to the final layer, the system can say with a high degree of confidence, "This is a face," or "This is not a face." Deep learning is incredibly powerful because it can handle vast amounts of data and find patterns that are too complex for humans to spot. But it's not perfect. One of the biggest challenges with deep learning is that it's a black box. You feed in data and it spits out results, but you don't always know exactly how it reached its conclusions. This lack of transparency can be a problem, especially in sensitive areas like healthcare or criminal justice, where the stakes are high and errors can have serious consequences. Another thing to keep in mind is that deep learning requires enormous amounts of computing power. Those neural networks with all their layers don't run on a regular laptop. They need specialized hardware, like GPUs, graphics processing units, or TPUs, tensor processing units, to crunch the numbers. This is one of the reasons why deep learning has only taken off in the last decade. Before that, the hardware simply wasn't up to the task. What is the difference between AI, ML, and deep learning? AI is the big picture, machine learning is a piece of the puzzle within that picture, and deep learning is a focused, more advanced method within machine learning. Here's the way I like to think of it. If AI is the entire universe of intelligent machines, then machine learning is one planet within that universe. And deep learning? Well, it's like a specific country on that planet dealing with the most complex problems using specialized techniques. Now let's address a common misconception. AI, machine learning, and deep learning are not about making machines think like humans. They don't have emotions, intuition, or consciousness. They're tools, powerful tools, but tools nonetheless. The intelligence in artificial intelligence is more about problem solving than self-awareness. These systems can analyze data, recognize patterns, and make predictions, but they don't know what they're doing in the way you or I know what we're doing. So why does this matter? Because understanding how these systems work, and more importantly, how they don't work, is essential in a world where AI is everywhere. When you hear about an AI that can write essays or compose music, it's easy to think of it as a creative genius. In reality, it's just a machine following patterns in data. It's not creating, it's generating outputs based on probabilities. And while that's impressive, it's not the same as human creativity or understanding. At the end of the day, AI, machine learning, and deep learning are tools, not magic, not sentient beings, and certainly not a replacement for human intelligence. They're designed to process information at a scale and speed that humans can't match, but they still depend on us to guide them. The more we understand about how they work, the better equipped we'll be to use them wisely. What are some examples of AI, machine learning, and deep learning that you use in your everyday life? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this interesting or helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.